Yes, yes, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It is Connor. We're back here. We're dancing. We're happy. We're smiling. I've not had that many hours sleep. Why, you ask? Because I've been listening to Sheffield United shows. I've been reading the reaction online because I just love to delve, to bask in others' misery when Leeds United are happy. Yes, that's been my night, everybody. And listen, it's not been filled with alcohol or anything like that. Nothing like that. Just the joy of Leeds winning is euphoria enough for me. So I apologise if I'm a little bit baggy-eyed, but I'll be back to full sprightly Connor at One Leeds HQ tomorrow. But shout out to all of you who were in the building this morning. I know it's kind of early. You've probably not got a lot of, or had a lot of sleep yourself. You've been thinking about Leeds United. You've been thinking about a lovely Derby Day win, of which we put ourselves right into the mix of it right now, haven't we? And we're going to be speaking about the run coming up. We're going to be speaking about Leeds United going forward now. We're going to be discussing the three things. Now, everybody, the three things is an opportunity for you guys to get your thoughts in, your things that you learned from last night as well. So please do in the comment section below. We're also going to be speaking about a new signing who I think is going to be coming through the door very, very soon. He was spotted at Leeds United last night, which is going to aid some of our concerns. But before we start the video, as always, everybody, and as you know on the channel, we are sponsored by IPM Group UK for all your surveillance and CCTV needs. Keep it in the Leeds United community, as you know, everybody. Link in the description for that. And we are sponsored by Football Prize, who have tickets open right now for a wonderful Leeds United prize. Okay, so let's get into a few of your comments. I'm sure you're darting in the section below. Good morning, Connor. From a sunny Bournemouth, all is good in the world. Steve, you're in a good part of the world, mate. Where I am, it definitely is not sunny, but Leeds United make the weather always feel sunny, don't they? It's a great feeling we get. Steve says 3.5 mil for Tanaka, caught them with their pants down. What a bargain. Ina is in the building. Morning all, great day, isn't it? Morning Connor says Jay. Jay says morning Connor, what a night. Voice is gone, back is and wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, I love that, mate. I know you'd have been down there. And Sean says as well, Out and Joe in the engine room gave so much momentum to the team going forward. They were the rotor of that engine, rotar, if you will. Indeed, my friend, indeed. Okay, so get your thoughts in, everybody. I'm going to sort of delve into a few bits as well. You can catch us on Patreon. We're going to be doing a podcast immediately after this with me and my old man, of which he's absolutely buzzing about last night. So if you want to try that, all the proceeds go to helping the channel. Links in the description below. But let's get into the new man, Joshua Gilavoggi. Listen, it's someone who I mentioned on Twitter about 3 days ago now, and people seem to think I've got a bit of an ITK there. I haven't. It's just of which I thought would happen. If you guys do follow me on social media, you'll have seen this. He's just the exact profile that would have been going after. And after sort of Chiarte and Francis Coquelin broke down, I just felt Gilavoggi would have been someone who they'd have obviously gone for. And you guys might be thinking, Connie, just took a stab at the dark there. It just fits exactly what we were looking at when it came to someone like Cheku Chiarte. And I think when you're profiling a player, when you're looking at a player, you've got to kind of give those alternatives that fit that exact same bracket, which the club are clearly looking at. Gilavoggi, 6'1", 6'2", tall lad, as is Cheku Chiarte, played at international level for France, albeit not for long, but played at the top level with Atletico, Wolfsburg and Mainz. Cheku Chiarte, Palace, West Ham, Nottingham Forest. 34 years of age. They're both 34 years of age. And the beautiful thing about it is it's that key word that we always speak about on the channel, versatility. Gilavoggi, I should say, can play a centre-back. He can play a left centre-back. He can play in a back three, and he can play in central midfield as well. So that we don't need to go on about this too much. And the reason I don't want to go on about this too much, guys and girls, is literally because for me, this is just a rotation option, and I'm not going to get too excited about it. And look, last night we saw why we're not going to get excited about a backup option coming in, because look at what we've got at our disposal, even when we're slightly stretched. So Gilavoggi is someone who I'm looking at, and it sort of made sense for me. It's the Bundesliga as well, of which Daniel Farke always has an eye on, hence Eli Gruev and him being the driving force for getting him in from Werder Bremen last season for £6 million. So I always thought as a free agent there, he'd have been one we'd have been looking at 100%. And with Cheku Chiarte burnt down, I thought, there's maybe a likelihood we go in for that. And he was spotted at Ellen Road last night. And there was loads of people saying that, look, this is going to be our next free agent sign. And apparently he was there watching Leeds last night. But as I say, I'm not getting too giddy about this. Not because I don't know it's going to happen, just because I know his rotation. He's going to be coming on in games to slow the pace down. I wonder if he's going to be on like a 6-month deal with Leeds, whatever till the end of the season. And I just think it's good recruitment again from the 49ers. Again, and we have to get in this. This is going to be my first point of which, everybody, we're going to get into exactly what they've done. But someone like Gilavoggi is top experience. It's someone who's coming in, who's been there and done it. He'll be on a decent wage, probably a little bit less than Cheku Kiarte, but he's someone who you're going to be able to rely on, and I like the signing once again. You're not coming down that far from the Cheku Kiarte tree with Gilavoggi. So yeah, don't mind it whatsoever. I think it's a decent addition, but he's going to be there to sort of like secure the games for Leeds, to make us defensively a little bit more solid. Don't mind it whatsoever, but I'm not just going to go absolutely nuts about it. Not because I'm downbeat about it, but just because I know he's going to be used and utilized, I should say, as rotation, for the final 10 minutes, cup games, whatever. So let me know what you guys think on the signing. Are you happy with it? Have you seen him before? Obviously, probably a little bit more prominent at Wolfsburg more than any other side in his career. I would say that is probably his most poignant time. Mainz, they did love him, obviously, which was his last club in the Bundesliga. Played sort of 11 to 13 times for them, I think, but he still got, good reviews when you've looked at Mainz fans' reactions online to, if you just literally stick the name in on Twitter or whatever, or Google. So yeah, I'm very sort of like very, very, very solid addition, I'd say, and exactly what Leeds United needed. Let's have a quick look. Totally haven't watched the highlights 3 times this morning. The sun is shining in Spain. Sitting here in Reykjavik, a bit hungover, but Leeds keep me warm. Yeah, brilliant. You guys are just not even interested in the new signing, which we haven't officially signed him yet, but he was at Ellen Road watching us last night. He's a free agent. Yeah. So Gila, I'm just going to call him Josh. I'm just going to call him Josh. But Josh looks like he's signed. I can put a link to his compilation if you guys aren't aware of him in the description below. Okay. So what three things did we learn last night? So we're going to start with what I just mentioned. Recruitment. Okay. So let's sort of pick this apart. Now, you're looking at the signings that Leeds United have made in the window, and I know a lot of people weren't really that sure on the 49ers. Throughout the summer period, really, I was behind them, and towards the back end, you were getting a little bit jittery because players had left, and we had a lot of money in the bank, and you were thinking, okay, are we going to at some point pick out a signing? And then obviously you saw Solomon come in, then you saw Ramazani come in, and you were thinking, okay, yeah, don't mind that whatsoever. Tanaka comes in, obviously with days remaining. But because it was rushed, maybe we're all sort of thinking, why has this been left right to the last minute when Tanaka was available, Schmidt was available? You look at Ramazani, and he was apparently available through the window as well. But obviously, Leeds do seem to wait and really pick the moments. But the recruitment that's come, the players that have come in, you look at the starting central midfielders last night. Normally, it's Gruev and Ampadu. And then you get Tanaka and Rothwell coming in. So for me, there you've got 4 midfielders who are extremely good at this level. And this was only echoed by Chris Wilder in his post-match thoughts when he was talking about Leeds United's depth. To have that as your midfield balance, and obviously Gilavoggi coming in now, but having that as your midfield balance and having players come in and do that, I don't think that ever happens. I can't ever remember in my lifetime. And I know the different profiles with Tanaka and Rothwell, but in terms of quality, I can't remember a drop off when you have players injured actually increasing the quality. Some would argue. Like, when has that ever happened? Ever? Like, do you even see that at Premier League level? I'm not comparing, obviously, our side to Premier League level and it being relative that wise. But the whole point is you don't normally see a drop off for your 2 starting defensive midfielders in the pivot and then not see any difference. If anything, you're going a little bit further up there. You never see that. So the recruitment across the squad, Schmidt, I think, is an improvement on Byron. I think that's sort of well-renowned and well-known sort of thing. I think he's going to develop into the season a little bit. We're going to get onto Ramazani in a bit because I'm just ultra impressed with what I've seen from him. Manor Solomon maybe was the one of which you guys sort of know. For me, was maybe one we could have maybe not done and gone for someone else, but I'm okay with it. It's still quality off the bench for me, and that's how I'm looking at it this season. But even just how we've added to the squad, across the squad, I think has been excellent. I think has been really, really good. And you've seen that last night. Even when we're sort of threadbare in many areas, which we are, we're still able to conjure up what we conjured up last night. We're still able to conjure up what we conjured up at Sunderland. We're still able to conjure up what we conjured up at Norwich, 3 of the top sides in this division. So I genuinely believe that the recruitment and what the 49ers have been able to do in that period, and hopefully they'll be able to go again in January. I think I called it a 6.5 at the time, and it's because of certain profiles been missing. I thought we could have done with another number 9. I thought we could have done with a genuine central attacking midfielder, maybe another body at the back. But really, you're looking at it, and we're looking for perfection because of what happened last season. We're looking for any micro gain when really you look at that squad, you look at how good it is, and Leeds could probably afford to have had a 6.5/7 recruitment window with what we just had to build on. You know, Joe Rodon, I thought maybe was a little bit inflated in terms of his price, but everything else I'm pretty happy with, to be honest with you. And from what they had to prove it to us, right? They had to prove it to us. When you saw Tanaka for 3.4 million quid, you probably thought to yourself, okay, yeah, we'll see how he does. Is he going to be sort of another Kamara? We like Kamara, but I don't think Kamara's anywhere. I think Kamara's a good player. He's a silky smooth operator, but I think Tanaka's on a different level. I do. I just think Tanaka's on a different level. I just think you can tell his frequency is just something different. The tempo, the ability on the ball. I like Kamara, but I think once again, he's maybe in the Greve department in terms of limited at certain points. I think Tanaka just at this level in particular looks outrageously good. You're looking at Rothwell, who's come in now, and we've got him in alone. You looked at his Southampton appearances, and there's a lot of people saying, look, we brought him in as almost just a depth body on the bench. After his last 3 performances, he probably fits into every single midfield in the division, in my opinion. You look last night at Arblaster, who is probably in his position. I know he's sort of glazed by Sheffield United fans, and they see him as like the next big thing and all this sort of stuff. But from what I've seen with Rothwell in the past 3 games, I think he probably replaces him in the Sheffield United side, if I'm honest with you. I think Rothwell was so good last night and has been so good and looks so confident and assured. He deserved man of the match last night, but I didn't mind it because obviously Tanaka got it. But the recruitment across the board for me has actually been really, really good. When you look at it, when you take a step back and when you look at what they've done, was it a 6.57 out of 10? Probably, in the fact that we didn't replace many profiles. You know, maybe we didn't let Patrick Bamford go, of which I'd have liked to get him off the wage bill. And you're kind of looking at all these sort of incremental parts, outgoings and incomings, of which you can make a judgment. But you've got to see them play. And we're seeing the depth play now. And we're seeing what we've got. And by God, it's very good. It's very good. I wanted to also touch on, in my 3 things, I wanted to talk about Ramazani. The reason I wanted to talk about Ramazani is because I think he's so overshadowed by other performances in this side at the minute. And we're looking at, obviously, Rothwell. We're looking at Tanaka. We're looking at Nonso. Pascal Struijk, obviously. And obviously, there's been a bit of talk of bad performances as well when you're looking at Eli Mele and a couple of others. But maybe Aronson in there as well, just in terms of like maybe lowering what I sort of expected or was looking at earlier on in the season when it came to him. But I don't want to go too harsh on him at all. I just think he's dipped a little bit. But, you know, there's positives and there's negatives. But I think Ramazani's been overshadowed by the noise a little bit. This guy is so good. He is electric. He's lightning quick. And do you know what, everybody? We saw it in the Norwich game when he got the equaliser with a fantastic left foot finish. He can use both feet. And we saw it last night when Cooper had to pull one out the bag where Anel came out to him. Perot played the ball to him. He slips it through his legs and then smashes it out of nowhere. And the problem with Leeds United a lot last season is we'd come in here and we'd say, we're not shooting enough. We're not shooting enough. We're not getting enough on target. Ramazani, I think, and Luan's put it out on Twitter, and I completely agree with him, with the amount of snapshots he's going to have throughout this season how he gets the ball at his feet and immediately shoots. Doesn't almost do the Joel Peru where he needs 4, 5, 6, 7 touches and then he'll shoot. Ramazani gets the ball at his feet, one touch, smack. And he backs himself. There was one point yesterday where he got the ball out of his feet. I don't know if you guys remember. He had about 20 Sheffield United bodies ahead of him. And on his left foot, he decided to have a go from about 30 yards. It was blocked. Thank God it ricocheted to Willie Gnonto. But the whole point is he backs himself and he's got a very, very good quality of strike on him with both feet. So I think Ramazani is maybe sort of an understated player, of which now is going to get a fair few goals for Leeds United and cause teams problems. And I mentioned this last night. If you didn't catch the review, everybody, I'm having him over Solomon, every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. I mentioned it even when Solomon was in the side, got pelters for it because Solomon had scored against Hull and got an assist, I think it was. But you see the pace, you see how explosive he is. You see how he can vary his game, I think, a little bit more than Manor Solomon. I think Ramazani can go down left. I think he can cut inside more effectively than what Manor Solomon can. And my main reasoning behind that is Ramazani's explosiveness, which I think Manor Solomon lost with his continuous meniscus injuries. You lose that in your knees, of course you do. So I think Ramazani is one of the first names on the team sheet, and I'll be raging. I genuinely will be raging if Daniel Farke takes him out. I will, because he deserves his start in this side, and he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant since Manor Solomon's been out the side. And once again, like we spoke about with the central midfielders, where you sort of seen Leeds go even like that, literally with the quality, in my opinion. So with Solomon being out, you've seen Ramazani just go like that for me. And this is what we're talking about in the debrief in terms of him starting over Solomon. And that for me isn't even a question anymore. Solomon is a bench option, of which there is an argument that Dan James is, I guess. I've always said that Dan James and Aronson a little bit like that for me. And I think it's because it's what Dan James gives you defensively as well, which maybe puts him a little bit ahead of Manor Solomon. And I'd like to see Gnonto central and James out wide. I think that is still a good complexion. But right now, the balance that we have, Ramazani on one side, Gnonto on the other side, is my French, fucking nightmare for any opposition. You saw it against Sunderland, Norwich. We gave Norwich a life by taking them off in the 78th minute. 78th minute, we gave Norwich a life, and suddenly they started coming on to us a little bit more pause. But that's what they started doing, because those two were completely igniting Leeds United's entire presence in that game. Yesterday, Gnonto and Ramazani destroyed Sheffield United. They destroyed them, and they still had a level to go, people. So it's beautiful that we have these options. Yeah, so but across the board, I'm just so happy for Ramazani. And look, we spoke about Tanaka, we've spoken about Rothwell. There's someone else who I wanted to put in the same bracket as well as Ramazani. I have to say this. It is Jayden Bogle. Now, he's been getting pelters. And I've not engaged in it a lot. I have to say, I've not engaged in it a lot. And on this channel, you sort of get that if you don't engage in a player getting bashed, sometimes you get deemed as having your favorites, which is just child's play for me. It's never been the case. Jayden Bogle, I've sort of backed from day one. I thought we robbed them of him for £5 million. And I think that was evident when Chris Wilder was coming out afterwards and was very, very upset. They'd offered him a new deal. Wilder came out and wasn't happy at the fact that he'd left, and they couldn't match the terms of the deal. So Leeds had clearly offered him a better deal. And I don't know, is there a bigger chance of promotion? I don't know. Maybe they just said that to Bogle. And at that time, Sheffield United were in tatters a little bit. So I think we have to take this into context. I understand Gus Harmer isn't a player of which you're looking at and you're thinking, oh, he's going to burst past. He's going to burst past, Jayden Bogle on that side. But who I would look at is Harrison Burrows, who's played left wing for Peterborough. I think he's moulded into that position at points of this season for Sheffield United as well, when he's been going forward. And you can tell he's a forward-thinking player. Not only was Bogle smashing him into the stands and Harrison Burrows wasn't getting past him whatsoever, he also kept Gus Hamer, whatever it is, completely out the game. Completely out of the game. So I'm sort of like, I don't like the fact of how much he's getting smashed for his defensive play. And it reminds me a hell of a lot of Trent in the Premier League, of which you get so much more value and so much more upside from Jaden Bogle's overall play that there's no real need to focus on the defensive stuff anyway. And when you look at the defensive stuff, he's not, aside from that Portsmouth game, which I give him a little bit of leverage for because it's his first game at Ellen Road in a huge game, start of the season. I don't think he's been left exposed in really any games. I don't. And if anything, I would actually say that it's been the centre back's fault and the central midfielder's fault for not covering in when he goes forward, which is his main job. You'll see Firpo banging on forward. You'll see Jaden Bogle banging on forward. And a lot of the time, they need cover. And if we're not supplying the cover, then we're going to get caught out in transition, which obviously happened against Burnley. But what you're seeing with Jaden Bogle, in my opinion, is him growing in confidence. Sheffield Wednesday was an outstanding performance. And from then onwards, I think he's been one of our best players, top 3, top 4 best players. And this is the brilliant thing now about Leeds United. You're looking at it and thinking, well, there's how many players could be in that? How many players could be in that? Because we're doing such a good job sort of elevating these players. But Jaden Bogle, make no mistake, don't cast your mind somewhere else, guys. He's been outstanding. He's been very, very good. And I don't know why. Like, I saw a Leeds fan going back at a Sheffield United fan, and the Leeds fan even said on social media the other day, "Oh yeah, Hamer's going to have Bogle wrapped up." And I was a bit like, "Well, why?" And I thought the only danger maybe Bogle had, and I mentioned this in the preview, was Raksaki going on that side. That's what I was a little bit worried about. That didn't happen. And Bogle dealt with everything perfectly. He was a threat going forward. And we need to drop this as a fan base. We need to drop this. If you have this sort of thing against Bogle, I'll be quite honest with you, and I'll be frank. When you're looking at the games that he's been playing from Sheffield Wednesday onwards, you must then have a bit of a narrative in your head. And just because Sheffield United fans have told you when they sold him to us that he's defensively crap, even though Chris Wilde wanted to keep him, they offered him a new deal, so he can't be that defensively crap. And then sort of you're getting, I think Chris Wilder said that he's one of the best right-sided players in the division as well, and he went on that on record as well. I think when at the start of the season, that's when you've got a good player, when you've picked your promotion rivals for one of their better players, because now that position, right back and left back, are so important in modern football. So important with the quality of wingers and the demand put on fullbacks to get forward and get assists and get goals. So I think that's key. And I think we need to really, really stick with Bogle a little bit. And he'll have some hairy games, but I think overall he's been really good for Leeds United, and he's been a quality buy, and he adds to the recruitment across the pitch. Binik says, been freeloading for 4 years, always great content. Keep it up. Thank you. Oh, mate, thank you so much. I don't know what that means. It says ISK. Thank you so much, buddy. Whatever that means. Listen, any donations, I greatly appreciate. I'm sort of bringing something to the channel. I keep mentioning this very soon, and it's going to cost me a lot of money, of which I can't really afford. So all of this, mate, is going to a good cause. So thank you so much. And it's for me to bring content to you, and hopefully you all, I honestly come on these, and I hope I go away from it learning something and you go away from it learning something, because I read the comments, I'm like, oh yeah, but maybe you listen to me and you go, oh yeah, he's not always chatting shit. So thank you so much, mate. I really, really appreciate that. I really do. 13 euros, mate. That's absolutely fine. It's enough for me. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much. I caught a live stream. Hey, Connor, I really like your t-shirt. Thanks, mate. This isn't anything to do with Leeds, to be fair. It's pretty poor of me. MW says, cheers for doing the watch-along last night. Of course, my friend, of course. It's great, the watch-alongs as well, which is the watch-alongs are getting more people engaged in it, and it is great. It's really nice. I'm enjoying it. Nathan says, I for one have critiqued DF many times, particularly for his subs. However, last night he deserves a fair bit of credit due to the for the Joseph sub and changed our shape to a 4-4-2. He did indeed, mate. He did. And look, last night I have to say, he took Nonto off, and I think at that point we needed the goal, didn't we? And we scored from that corner, which who would have predicted that? But I thought, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. Again, he took Nonto off, and I'm like, why are you taking him off? Don't take him off. He's the best player in the league. And that's my mentality with it, guys. I always think he's the best player in the league. You got Ramazani on the other side, who feels like he's almost going to have a Rafinha arc. Bear with me. bear with me. Do you remember when Rafinha first started with us and he wasn't getting glazed at all? He came on against Aston Villa, spraying balls, but he wasn't getting glazed a lot. We were all kind of like, oh yeah, who's this guy sort of thing. And you could tell he was a good player, but nobody was really talking on his name a lot. And I feel like Ramazani's in that bracket right now, where at that moment, we were all talking about other players, your Clicks, your Alioskis, other players, Rodrigo, whatever. Bamford at that time had scored, 17-goal season, wasn't it? And we're all talking about those players. We weren't focusing on this new Brazilian who we just brought in from Rennes for like 25 million quid. Seems crazy now. But Ramazani, we brought him in, and I don't feel anybody's really focusing on him because we're focusing on other bits, aren't we? I genuinely believe this guy is going to be one of the best players in the league. I think he's outstanding. I love watching Ramazani. He gets me off my seat, and he is Nonto 2.0. And this is what got me so excited as well yesterday, everybody. The fact that Wilder's coming out and just going, yeah, just look at the depth, look at the depth. And that is the thing. When you've got Dan James, Manor Solomon off the bench, we've still got massive injuries. We've got huge defensive problems. And I wanted to say one other thing, guys. If you're Sheffield United and we've got the defensive injuries that we had last night, when you've got massive players out of even selection, Max Ferber, Elai Gruev, Ethan Ampadu, players coming back who were quite rusty. And as you could tell last night with Solomon and Dan James, you're looking at that bench and you're seeing Charlie Crew there, De Bayo with the greatest of respect, obviously Cardalo on there, and you're looking at it. I think Gelhardt was on there as well, wasn't he? And you're going, it's not great here. For us to keep them out, I think Johnny Cooper put it up. On record, Sheffield United, I don't think at championship level, have ever not had a shot on target. They didn't have a shot on target, guys. That was a dominant performance. That, aside from the first 15 minutes where they pressured us, but I heard Hinchcliffe saying, oh, there should have been 1 or 2 up. What are you talking about? They didn't have a shot on target, Andy. Andy, they've not had a shot on target. What do you mean? And how many shots did they have in that first 20 minutes? Their most dangerous chance was our blaster. And we kind of fell asleep and he had it on the edge of the box and it was deflected wide. That was it. It still wasn't a shot on target. So when you're keeping one of the top 2 sides in the division, who I believe were top last night, I think on goal difference, I'm not 100% sure before I went into play, when they're not having a shot on target and we're doing what we're doing to them in transition on the ball last night, that is a mark of a really, really, really good a good side. And I think Wilder was saying that. And to be fair to him, after the game, he was saying, look, we just got battered. And I think they got beat up last night. I think they got beat up. And I think you could tell they got beat up because they started getting frustrated even at 0-0 when their best opportunity to hurt Leeds was from corners. And Willie Gnonto is rattling them. Harry Souttar's focusing more on Willie Gnonto than the ball coming in. And he's the biggest threat, literally. Norrington Davis is more bothered about shouting at Elan Mele in the goal than the ball being floated in. Leeds then win the free kick. And to be fair to Elan, he got his hand on pretty much every single corner that came in, which I think was 2 or 3. So, and I think we'd rattled them because they didn't realise how good we were. And I don't think we're in top gear there. I really don't. I think we were in sort of second, third gear. I still think we've got a level to go with this team. I genuinely believe that. But last night was the performance of the season. Last night was the best this lot have played together. And last night, we had so many bodies out. Crucial bodies, even just rotation bodies who can come in and help us out. So there is so many positives to take from last night. And the beautiful thing as well is we can now go on a run. Because, I mean, imagine if we'd have beaten Sunderland, for Christ's sake. Elan. But listen, if we'd have beaten Sunderland, we'd have been top of the league, wouldn't we? But we are where we are right now. And you've got Watford coming up on Tuesday. You've got to follow it up. And I think we will follow it up. You've got to then go to Bristol City. You've then got Plymouth coming up. You've then got Millwall coming up. You've then got Luton coming up. You've then got Blackburn coming up. This is what I'm saying, everybody. I feel Sheffield United, just because we're talking about Sheffield United from last night and the comparison in terms of the promotion hopefuls, I think Sheffield United have had a good run so far. They've had a lot of decent home games. I think they've had a good run of fixtures. I think we've had tougher fixtures than what they've had. I'd argue we've had tougher fixtures than what Burnley have had. So right now, we really have an opportunity to go on this run from October to sort of like the end of November. I've sort of pigeoned it as the 30th of November, where I think we play Blackburn or Luton, where they're called probably our tougher games, but maybe not on paper anymore. So I think it was a really good performance from Leeds United, and I think it's a real good indictment of the squad. I like seeing Melier shushing the away fans in the end. Yeah, it's great, Einar, because do you know what, mate? He'd have got absolutely slagged off for the entire 90 minutes. He'll have been going, whoa, every time he had the ball. And he needed that. He needed a clean sheet because, as you guys know, as much as clean sheets, the whole thing annoys me because it just gets attributed to goalkeepers. When clean sheets, when you're Leeds United and you dominate possession and you camped in the opposition half all the time, means that as a side, you're putting the initiative on the opposition and keeping them away from your goal. So I don't just put all the onus on that being Illan Melier. I'm all look at goals prevented and save percentage for that, for an isolated metric on him as a goalkeeper. But last night, to be fair to him, palmed a few crosses out. Looked like he had the Arblaster shot sort of covered, but it's hard with Melier. Again, we've kept a clean sheet, but he's not been tested. They've not done anything. So, what are we looking at here? So yeah, I think we need to see Lan in a bit more of a cauldron. Maybe we're going into the Watford game. They have a few more shots on target, and we see how he does there. A few one-on-ones, hopefully not. But I think we just need to start seeing him consistently put these performances together without having a Portsmouth, without having a Norwich, and without having a Sunderland, which has got to be taken out of his game. I know we're all happy now, but they've got to be taken out of his game. We don't want to be going to Bramall Lane and for him to do something daft as well. So it was great him doing that, though. That is the shithouse we all love. Let's have a look at what some of you guys are saying as well. Get your 3 things in, everybody, as well. I need to have a conversation about how hard it will be to get back into the squad for Amps and Gruev. Yeah, mate. I met God. I've been here for 33 minutes, guys. You need to tell me when I'm waffling. I am waffling again. I went on for 55 minutes by myself yesterday. What's going on? But yeah, we had a conversation about it last night, George, for a good spell, mate. And we're gonna have a conversation about this on the Patreon after this. If you guys want a podcast format, come over and have a little look at that. But I mean, Farker even mentioned it last night. When Ethan and Elia come back, and it does grate on me a bit. It does grate on me a bit because it's like, and he wasn't directly saying they're going to be getting straight back in, but it's about Tanaka and Rothwell tonight. Don't mention Ampadu and Gruev. He was mentioning it in context in terms of players coming back soon, but I'm like, yeah, but look what you've got, mate, against the 3 toughest teams in the division, in my opinion, or one, like 3 of 5, maybe, at least all 3 of them in the top 6, definitely. Like Tanaka and Rothwell, together as a partnership, they looked better with combinations. Their telepathy, is that the word? Telepathy, synergy, the cohesiveness was on point for barely playing together. I think they're better on the ball than Ampadu and Gruev. They're press resistant. They can bypass that press as well. They're very good at this level. Tanaka's a joke. He is a joke. Well, then it could be the sign of the season, that. But don't overlook Rothwell. Don't overlook Rothwell. Seriously. I just loved the variation in his play last night. The variation. Sometimes he'd go, but sometimes he'd drive through the heart. He drove through Sheffield United's heart 3 times last night, and they didn't expect it. And that variation, you don't get that from Ampadu and Gruev because we know what we're going to get from Ampadu and Gruev. 5 to 7 yard passes, the occasional long ball, and control. But I think it's easier to defend against. Rothwell and Tanaka, how many times did we see him spraying it last night? Which means that the opposition team is stretched, they're out of position, and you can get 1v1 out wide. That's the difference. And you don't get that with Gruev and Ampadu. So I know Daniel Farker likes control, but I'm begging in a sense that he at least keeps one of them in. Because right now, those 2 don't get back in. Football's a meritocracy. You all know how much I love Ampadu. You know how much I think Gruev is limited, right? If I have agendas, if I have narratives, Ampadu's coming straight back in. But for me right now, and people will say, oh, but Ampadu's a leader. You can lead by example on the pitch as well. And let's not forget, I believe Tanaka and Rothwell are both older than Ampadu. So, yeah, I think there's a real conversation to be had there, mate. And to say we're up against Ollie Arblaster and Vinny Souza, I feel last night, because a lot of people were talking about if Gruev and Ampadu had been in against Sunderland, wouldn't have conceded any chances to Joe Bellingham. I think that's absolute bollocks. I think that would have happened anyway, because I think when Ampadu was in last season, or Gruev was in last season, Bellingham was still having chances at the Stadium of Light and actually scored and wasn't tracked. So there you go for that one. But for me, I just think I don't see why you'd put a more limited player in there when you've got two all-rounders in there. I don't get it. That's what I'm a little bit confused on. So it's a great problem to have, a fantastic problem to have for Daniel Farke. But Wilder even mentioned, Alaya. He said Alaya and Ethan been out, and then those two come in. That's what you have as depth, and that's seriously positive. If Tanaka was jet lagged, then maybe we should get him in a plane to circle Leeds Bradford. Yeah, this is the other thing, mate. Tanaka had played about 2 days beforehand. And to be fair, so had Brendan Aronson. And they came back and were doing what they were doing. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable, to be fair. Waffle away, mate. We won. I'm ecstatic. 100% Connor. I think this midfield duo's cohesiveness is working well. Pete says, what does this say about Farke, though? When he's forced to make a change and it improves the side, what does that say about his thoughts on actual first-team selection? Would he have ever picked it? No, I don't think he would have done, mate. I don't think he would have done. I think his hand was sort of maybe forced a little bit. Well, it was. I've said previously, I don't think we'd have seen Rothwell. I don't. I think maybe Farke saw him as that rotation, but now you can't ignore Rothwell. You can't. And Tanaka as well. I think Tanaka would have been out for a while because he just loves Gruev and Ampadu, doesn't he? Gruev in particular, he loves him. I just want us to go back to the Norwich way of thinking, which for me was, when Stiepermann was centrally, when Vrancic was centrally, you'd have like a bit of a balance sometimes with Tete and Tribal coming in for that defensive solidity. But they had the onus on attacking. Norwich would just attack all the time. We do that, but I think he puts a lot more onus on control in that midfield. And I think Tanaka and Rothwell, he's probably seen can do that. So that's all good. Hey guys, listen, I'm going to leave you. If you want an extended conversation, I've been going on for 40 minutes. Goodness me, I do waffle on. As I say, guys, thank you so much for your donations. I really respect and love that. We're heading on over to the Patreon now to do a little bit with my old man, talking about the game in a little bit more of an extended format. All the patrons have got the questions in there from last night. If you want to get any question in there now, head on over there. Guys, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. And as always, I'll see you on the other side in a bit.